The British Great Panjandrum device was an attempt to solve one particularly troublesome problem towards the end of World War II: how to break the monumental Atlantic wall without putting soldiers into unnecessary danger. The British Admiralty tasked the Directorate of Miscellaneous Weapons Development to come up with a secret weapon to overcome the daunting barrier. The artifact was required to deploy from a landing ship and reach the wall without the help of any soldier, to deliver a payload significant enough to blow a tank-sized hole in the 7-foot-thick concrete wall. Several contraptions were developed and tested, but by far the strangest and most vexing was the Panjandrum, a rocket-powered wheel designed to rush at the German defenses at 60 miles per hour. As several tests and improvements were made, the final testing event included several members of the British Admiralty. Little did they know that they would soon be running for their lives. The Atlantic Wall. Realizing an Allied invasion was merely a matter of time, Adolf Hitler issued Führer Directive No. 40 on March 23, 1942, prompting the immediate construction of a wide array of coastal defenses and fortifications set to span all the way from Spain to the Cape of Norway. The project was built according to a set of plans known as Regelbau, which entailed a series of engineering studies of hundreds of different types of bunkers and casemates, resulting in a series of groundbreaking blueprints for highly effective and modern coastal fortifications. The average German citizen in 1943 would understandably believe that an Allied invasion of Nazi-occupied France was futile, if not impossible. For over a year, Germany's propaganda machine had been spreading news of the construction of an insurmountable barrier, a feat of German military superiority. The Atlantic Wall was a top priority of the German High Command, and it was constructed in record time thanks to the labor of French builders who were pressured to assist on the project. The sheer scope of the defensive array meant that the Atlantic Wall would be a gradual and ongoing project with no precise finish date, as more and more bunkers were built to close the space between existing defenses. Later, when an Allied attack seemed imminent in 1944, Erwin Rommel was assigned to oversee the project. The Desert Fox concluded that the defenses still showcased many vulnerabilities, and he ordered the building of additional fortifications. Under his guidance, hundreds of reinforced concrete pillboxes were erected on the beaches to house machine guns, anti-tank guns, and light and heavy artillery. By the time the Allies were conducting preparations for D-Day, the reinforced Atlantic Wall was a severe obstacle to their liberation plans. A crazy contraption. In early 1943, as the Allies considered every possible solution to make their eventual invasion of Europe more feasible, the British Admiralty tasked the Directorate of Miscellaneous Weapons Development to design weapon prototypes capable of destroying sections of the Atlantic Wall without putting the soldiers' lives at risk. The directive made sense, as the Allies knew French beaches were filled to the brim with landmines, on top of the guns, batteries, and machine guns that would rain destruction over any soldiers who attempted to get close. A device that allowed them to damage the bunkers while keeping a distance would be more than ideal. The organization worked in complete secrecy to develop several weapon prototypes to accomplish the desired objective. Still, none of the prototypes was as strange and ludicrous as what would come to be known as the Great Panjandrum. The basic idea seemed like something taken out of a cartoon. Mount several rockets on two huge wheels connected by a drum jam-packed with explosives, then pointed at the Nazis and get out of the way. Despite the simple nature of the proposed device, the engineering team that developed it was confident that the contraption would prove effective at rushing German defenses and blowing them up, so that tanks could pass through the holes left by the explosion. By late 1943, the Directorate built a working prototype of the Panjandrum in London and delivered it to Westward Ho, a seaside village in southern England with beaches comparable to those the Allied forces would storm during D-Day. The Panjandrum's two 10-foot steel wheels were fitted with as many as 70 slow-burning cordite rockets, and its vast wheels were joined by a drum-like axle designed to carry over 1 ton of explosives, enough to penetrate the 7-foot-thick wall. For the initial testing phase, engineers filled the drum axle with sand instead of explosives, and they would soon learn that it was possibly the best decision of their lives. Testing gone wrong. On paper, the Great Panjandrum had no reason to malfunction. When the rocket-powered wheels were tested back in London, the rolling contraption went straight as an arrow at speeds that surpassed 60 miles per hour. Now it was only a matter of trying it at the beach. As Directorate engineers began to conduct the initial test, they soon realized that it was one thing to use the device in a firm and controlled level environment, but another altogether to deploy it in cratered sand with changing levels of grip and other innumerable variables. The result was an uncontrolled rolling rocket contraption that moved erratically while shooting rockets in all directions as they became detached. The scene reminded spectators of a headless chicken running aimlessly. To solve this problem, aeronautical engineer and novelist Neville Shute Norway installed a third wheel into the Panjandrum to increase its stability. However, things didn't fare any better, as the extra wheel was not enough to offset the effect of changing rolling resistance on the beach, which predictably meant one wheel would spin faster than the other, making the whole device turn. The engineers then added steel cables to serve as guides that could direct the trajectory of the rolling device as it moved through the beach. The lines helped a bit, but as the Panjandrum reached its intended speeds of over 60 miles per hour, the rockets detached from the structure once again, and the whole thing went out of control. Not eager to throw in the towel, the Directorate kept adjusting the design during the fall of 1943, and by January of 1944, they were confident it was ready for a high-profile test run before military high command. The scene was set up for something great to happen. High-ranking officers and generals were seated a considerable distance from the testing site, binoculars in hand, and ready to witness what they expected to be a wonder of British engineering. The Directorate personnel then ignited the rockets, and the colossal contraption began to move. At first, things went according to plan. The Panjandrum started rolling in a straight line and picking up speed just as intended. Still, as luck would have it, things soon took a wild turn. According to James Moore and Paul Nero, who described the event in their publication Pigeon-Guided Missiles and 49 Other Ideas That Never Took Off, quote, "The Panjandrum hurtled from the sea at wondrous speed, sparks flying from its rockets. But then old habits kicked in. As rockets dislodged, the Panjandrum spun, and shock replaced the confidence of those attending. Generals fled for cover. The official cameraman was almost mown down, and the Panjandrum, rockets flailing, wheels ablaze, disintegrated." The whole scene was as ludicrous as the contraption itself, with generals running for their lives, cameramen throwing themselves to the sand, and an army officer's dog chasing a loose rocket down the beach. The unfortunate event became the final nail in the coffin of the Panjandrum project, and the Allies would need to find other, more conventional ways to break the Atlantic Wall. Thank you for watching my video. Do you know any other crazy weapon prototypes worthy of a video? Let us know in the comment section below. And to find more exciting history-inspired stories, don't forget to subscribe to all of our Dark Documentaries channels and hit the notification bell. Stay tuned for more.